Okay, great. Now we're recording. So just wanted to say, welcome everybody. Welcome to Summer 22, and welcome to our workshop for today, which is going to cover beginning of the summer prep. If you were here for the beginning of the spring semester prep, it's very much like that, but I did try to put together some tailored suggestions specifically for the summer and for teaching in the 10-week summer format. So that just a preview of what we're going to go over today. For those, I think I know most everyone who's in here, but for those of you who don't know me, I am Anna Young. I'm an instructional designer in the Office of Online Learning. And again, just so happy to have you all here and to be kicking off the summer semester with all of you. So just to go over what I'm going to cover today, first of all, I'm going to share just a quick little, what I call a checklist of nuts and bolts for semester prep, specifically for summer semester prep. So most of what's in there is going to be mainly geared towards online instructors, but in all of this, but the information presented should apply really to any instructor who's using D2L, whether that be in a fully online course, in hybrid course, or a virtual format. So it won't apply to everybody in the same way, but it is intended to apply at least in some degree to everyone who is using D2L, their D2L course shell in some way. So we're going to go through that nuts and bolts, or that pre-semester checklist prep for online faculty that goes through some of the more technical setup of D2L, including copying courses, setting up your Zoom meetings, kind of small technical changes for beginning of the semester prep there. Then we're going to go through a couple of general tips for teaching in the 10-week summer format. And we were just talking at the beginning of this session about how a lot of what is included in there should also translate to those of you who are converting courses from the full semester 15-week format into the 7-week format. But also keeping in mind our accelerated 10-week summer term as well. So, and as we're going through this, I'm going to demo I'm going to switch over into D2L to just demo a couple of things upon request. I know some things may be familiar to most people in here, but others may want to just have a quick live overview, and I'm happy to do that. So just let me know if you would like to see something, and I'll also pause for questions and to take any requests to demo something in D2L. If you do, I do just ask if you have any questions that are really specific to your course, or if you're wanting me to look at something specifically in your course, to hold those questions till the end, or schedule an individual consult with me. We also have office hours immediately after this session, starting at 1:30. So if you have a question that's really specific to your course, I'm happy to take those in our office hours after the session. Okay. And also this recording will be available afterwards to all of you. We will send that link around, so it will be available for your future reference and to anybody who was not able to attend today. Okay, so first off, I've put together kind of pre-semester checklist for online faculty, or just a list of all the basic kind of nuts and bolts that need to be addressed as you're preparing for the next semester. This applies to most any semester, but specifically for the summer term. So I'm going to run through that list on the next few slides, and I'll also send this around in a Word document after the session. So you'll see I've divided out a couple of items that I've identified as kind of must-dos for your semester prep that essentially all instructors are going to need to address when you're setting up for the new term. So I'm just going to run down this list really quickly, and then we'll look at each one in a little bit more detail. So first of all, and many of you have probably already done this in some form or fashion, seeing as the semester began today, but importing content into your current course shell. So if you do still need to import content from a previous semester or from a master shell, that's going to be the first step in your prep, and for some of you, maybe the only step in your prep. And then next, updating your syllabus with new dates, new contact information, or anything else that may have changed, changing any due dates that are present in D2L to the current term. If you're importing from a previous semester, you'll want to just make sure that you have all of your dates set to the next semester. Update any scheduled Zoom meetings for those of you who are teaching in a virtual format. Again, just making sure that those are current to the summer semester term. And then finally, and I won't go into great detail on this item in this workshop, but updating and setting up your gradebook We are having a workshop specifically dedicated to gradebooks tomorrow, June 1st at 12 o'clock. So same time as this workshop. It'll also be recorded if you can't make it then. We'll go, we'll go into depth on gradebooks then. I just wanted to bring that up and just mention it here that it's best to make sure that your gradebook is set up at the beginning of the semester rather than trying to fix that at the end. So I just wanted to mention that at least as an essential item in your pre-semester prep. So as I said, I'm going to dive into a couple of those items in a bit more depth. So first of all, and probably most importantly for most of you, is importing content. So most of you, as I said, have probably already loaded your content into your shell or had it loaded in for you. But if that is not the case, if you don't currently have anything in your shell, you might just want to check with your course lead, see if there's a WebO, SM, or a summer shell that you can copy. You can also email us at Online Learning if you need a master copied into your shell. It's also possible to copy any items from your previous semester shells that you've taught. Say if there's, particular items or documents that you would like to bring from a previous semester into your current course. If you have discussion set up or news items set up that you would like to use again in the current shell, you can also use the import, export, copy components tool inside of D2L to copy any items from a previous semester or from an existing master shell, if there is one. In most cases, most everyone should already be set up for the semester as of today. But if you are needing assistance copying anything over, again, just shoot us an email at onlinelearning@nscc.edu, and we can help with that. And again, I know that the process of copying components from either a master shell or from a previous semester, that should be familiar, I think, to most of you who are present here. But I just wanted to, in case anyone is not familiar with that process, would anyone like me to just go through kind of what that process looks like, importing content from another shell into a current shell? Is anyone interested in seeing that?
Yeah, I would, because I've been having a lot of problems with the learning resource library
Oh, okay.
as far as it giving me an error whenever I try and import stuff from there. So it'd be a lot easier if I could just directly copy from my existing courses rather than using the repository.
Yeah, I would recommend copying from your previous courses rather than using the learning object repository. That may be an option that some of you have seen throughout your course shell, but it's usually, I think it's easier to copy from another shell than to use the LOR for exactly that reason. It can be kind of slow to load and hard to find files in there. So Peter, were you just wanting me to just kind of go through kind of the basic steps of what it looks like to import components?
Yeah, if you don't mind, just showing, because I tried using the copy before, and it just seems to want to copy into the current course rather than allowing me to paste it into a different course. That makes sense.
Okay, I think it does. You'll just want to make sure that you are in the course that you're wanting to copy to. That's the first step. So if you want to start with your current semester shell, if you're wanting to copy to that, go to edit course. Again, most of you probably already have seen this before or have done this before, but just as an overview or refresher, it's an edit course, import, export, copy components. That's where you're going to want to go. Copy components from another org unit. So just essentially copy from another existing course inside of our version of D2L. You want to go to search for offering and then search for the course you're wanting to copy from. Keep in mind, you'll have to be enrolled in the course you're wanting to copy from. You'll either need to be a banner teacher role, like if it's a course that you taught previously, or otherwise be enrolled in that course. Select the course you're copying from, add selected, and then you have the option to either copy all components in one shot. It's going to copy everything in that course over into the current shell, minus the previous class list or previous gradebook. Or you can click select components if you're only wanting to copy say in your case, Peter, if you're only wanting to copy like a couple of things, if there's just a couple of things you want to grab from a previous semester, you go into select components down here at the bottom. And then you have the option to import different categories of items. And then within each category, just individual items within each category. So if you just want to copy, say, the content from a previous course, you would just select content. And if you don't want all of the content, you could even go narrow it down further and go for select individual items to copy, and then select on this next screen. Once we hit continue, you'll have the option to pick individual items out of that content category. So this page essentially just allows you to import individual categories of items.
And I think that's where I was going wrong. I think I was in the old course trying to copy and select stuff from the old course to copy into the new course. So I just think I had it backwards then. So that's the key right there, I think.
Yeah, I think that is. Just make sure that you're starting where you want to copy to, and then the course that you select using this tool, that's the one you're copying from.
And I did provide a link to our how to copy resources, and then a broader link to all of our online learning resources in the chat if anybody wants to save and bookmark those as well. Dr. Doty, you have your hand up. So
yeah, I just got a real quick question. Heretofore, Troy Valentine, he's moved on also, has a downloaded Weibo for our web-based courses, but what's in for, and once again, this is for fall. What's in my fall 7-week now is nothing. Is that correct? And that is literally, we will put totally, Troy Valentine, Nashville State will not download Weibo for us this time. We'll totally do it ourselves for the 7 weeks course. Am I correct on that?
No, we can provide, if you provide us the information of what is the master course and then what is the course you want to copy to, we can make that happen, or you can copy it yourself. It's kind of up to the faculty.
Okay, and copy it myself. I do want to do that. Heretofore, we could not do that because of the fact that it was done by, all the Weibo courses were done by the administration. So yes, I do want to do it myself. We can do it that way.
If you have access to the Weibo course, yes. If not, you can request it and then we can get it copied in there when you're ready. So
thank you.
Right. And that goes for really all copying other courses kind of situations. If you're wanting us to copy something, just send us an email again, and that's something that we can very easily do for you. I just wanted to briefly demo what this process looks like for those of you who are wanting to just go into a previous semester shell, copy a couple of items, or if you are needing to copy a whole course into another one. But in most cases, as you mentioned, Dr. Doty, in most cases the Weibo was copied into the current shell, but not in all cases.
And when we say Weibo, just for everybody, we're talking about web online, and we're talking usually about master courses. So just make sure everyone's on the same page here.
Right, exactly. So for most courses, there is a master shell that exists that all individual sections are copied from. So they're virtually identical to that master copy. And then there are different sections for Weibo as for online. There are virtual sections, hybrid sections, and then also slightly modified sections for instance, summer. So you might see a Weibo SM. If you're wanting to copy a master course that is for the summer and set up for the summer that has the 10-week format, you'll want to look and see or email us and find out if there is a Weibo summer that you can copy. So that'll be what you want.
Right, because course leads and course maintainers usually update those master courses with the dates, so everything is ready to go by the time they're copied in your course, and all you really need to change is your identification information within the syllabus and in the course.
The problem is I am the course lead. Well, I got to figure out how to do it first.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you can always get with one of us if you have any questions about doing that. While we're on this screen, any more questions about the importing from a previous course or an existing course?
Can we copy from another college within TBR? Like if there's
Um,
another instructor who created a course that we're going to try and implement, is there a way to do that?
so there is a way to do that.
Yeah, maybe, because it depends
Maybe.
on the tools, because not every institution uses the same tools and the setups are different. Um, there may be a question you have to kind of meet with us and we'll figure out the logistics. But in theory, yes, you can export a course file as a zip file and then import it into D2L, but there's no guarantee that you really have to go check and make sure everything was functional, because there's no telling what the setup at the different institution is.
Yeah. My instinct is that what Jamie is talking about is exporting as a Brightspace package and then re-importing it into your course as a just bringing that zip file into your current course. But again, as Jamie pointed out, that might not. That would be kind of a case by case.
We can create a test shell too to actually test to see if it works. So we're not playing with the live course, just kind of verify. So
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
I was just curious about that. That was something that came up during our one TBR meeting about doing the common courses across the state.
Technically, it's possible. Logistically, I don't know.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, feel free to reach out after this, Peter, if you would actually like to look into doing that. Any other questions about importing or copying existing courses before we move on? Okay, I mean, there's probably a process that, again, that most of you are familiar with, but I did just want to give some time to that in case anyone was unfamiliar with that process. So we'll switch back over to our slides. And then just to wrap up the subject of copying courses or copying existing courses, just a couple of reminders to keep in mind. Again, you can only copy courses in which you are enrolled as banner teacher or that you have access to in some way. Any courses that if you're trying to find a course to copy and it's not coming up in the search, it probably means that you're not enrolled in that course. And so in that case, you would just email us and we can get access to that course for you. When you copy a course over into a new shell, in most cases, you're going to have to re-enable any external tools that you're using, such as Turnitin for Assignment Dropbox. You'll have to re-enable that for Assignment Dropbox. It's very easy. When you go to the Assignment Dropbox, once you copy over, you'll see at the top a button where you can just one-click re-enable it. And then the same goes for your proctoring tools like Respondus Monitor and HonorLock. Those will have to be set up again in the new course shell. They won't copy over. Yes, Dr. Doty?
Yeah, I have another extremely dumb question. The world's going to come to an end tomorrow for me because of the authentication, if you're with me. Does authentication also apply to D2L?
I don't think it does. I think it is just for your My NSCC email and My NSCC. And you should be prompted when you try to log in tomorrow. My understanding is when you try to log in, you will be prompted to set up the authentication on your mobile device, and there should be instructions there to walk you through doing that. Help desk should be able to assist with that. If when that time comes and you have any questions, reach out to the computer help desk, and they should be able to best assist you with that.
And I've actually been to them, and they have set it up.
Yeah.
It has not been turned on yet, and I'm about to find out tomorrow. And I'm not even sure what this thing is right here. I don't ever use the thing, so.
Yeah. Well, they should be able to. They should be able to point you in the right direction and tell you what to do. But it's a pretty simple process. You just have to download an authentication app, and it just requires you to push a button on your phone in order to be able to log in on your computer.
I'm just extremely low tech.
Yeah, well, we're here to help. So, reach out to us, reach out to help desk if you run into any issues when authentication day comes about. All right, so again, going back to our course copy reminders, links to external tools, for instance, Pearson, or if you have McGraw-Hill Connect turned on in your course, I know a lot of the biology courses use that. That will not copy over. In most of those tools, like McGraw-Hill Connect, the instructor has to individually set up their own classroom and sync it to their course shell. So just keep in mind that that's not going to copy over. If there are any links to anything in an external tool like McGraw-Hill or Pearson, oftentimes they will copy over as broken links and may have to be updated. So that's just something to watch out for if you are using one of those external publisher tools. There is an option in when you're copying from a previous existing course to offset dates. That can be useful. What that means is you can set the dates that were assigned on the master shell or the previous semester shell and set them forward to the current term. That's an option that will show up if you go to copy all components on the final page. There will be an option to, I think it's something like review and manage dates, which will allow you to set the dates for all items you're copying over forward in time. That can be kind of tricky though, because you have to know exactly how many days forward in time you're going. Another tool that you can use to very quickly change the dates of content you're importing in bulk very quickly. I'll show you where it is. It's an edit course and it is manage dates. So if you've just copied over a bunch of stuff from another course and it's all from the spring semester, for instance, you can come through here and bulk edit dates to push them forward to the summer semester. So that's just something I wanted to point out and recommend. And then we already demoed this, but you also have the option to use select components to copy just some items from another course. So if you just want to grab a couple of items, it might be quicker to do that rather than going through the learning object repository or through other means. Okay. Any final questions about copying courses before we move on to the next thing? Awesome. Okay. So next I mentioned another critical part of semester prep and getting set up for the summer is setting up any Zoom meetings that you have. I don't know how many people here are teaching virtual courses, but if you do have a virtual course and you have scheduled Zoom meetings, you will need to set up recurring meetings for those class times. They are not set up automatically. The instructor will have to create those meetings in their NSCC Zoom account and share that information with the students themselves. So this is something that a lot of people I think will be familiar with, but did anybody want me to go through the steps involved in that? Yes, Dr. Doty?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I tried to zoom into you right now, at which time you had to update me in Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm really asking is, come fall, will I be? I'm on the Zoom account at Nashville State, even though I'm an individual account. My question is everything going to be updated and okay to do that come fall, or will I need to go through authentication on that too? I'm worried about that authentication stuff.
Yeah, I think Zoom authentication is also going to be set up starting tomorrow. So, but it won't prompt you every single time. It'll just do it periodically. But yeah, as far as Zoom updates, when you're prompted to update Zoom whenever an actual update from Zoom comes out. So as long as you have the latest version or the version that it's able to run, you shouldn't have any issues or encounter anything odd.
So yeah, these technical questions, but once again, I'm not high tech.
Oh no, these are great questions. And yeah, I think that you will have to go through authentication for your NSCC Zoom. That's just a one-time setup. And then, like Jamie said, periodically it will prompt you to open the Authenticator app on your phone and just verify it's you so that you can log in on your computer. And again, Help Desk has some resources on that, and they can kind of walk you through that.
So you're telling me there's two things in, and that is Zoom and also D2, not D2L, but email.
Right, your email.
Third, fourth, fifth.
I think they're part of the same authentication. So just depending on, because it's the same email, so you're trying to access it. So I think it'll authenticate both if you just do it once. So we'll just have to see. I don't know what TSD has in mind specifically, but it's the same email, so they're connected to the same account.
Yeah. And if you get stuck and and you're not able to get into Zoom, just let us know, Dr. Doty, and we can try to troubleshoot that. But since you have some time before the fall semester actually starts, it might be a good idea to go ahead and log in, make sure you're able to get through the authentication app, and just figure that out over the summer. Did anybody else have any questions or want a demo of how to set up a recurring Zoom meeting and share it with your students? Is everyone pretty much comfortable with that? Again, I know a lot of this stuff is probably familiar to most of our seasoned instructors we have in the room, but I just wanted to make the space and time available for if anybody wanted to see
and
that.
if you want to schedule a meeting with either one of us to learn how to do these things or answer any of the questions, feel free to email us and we can schedule a Zoom meeting to kind of walk you through whatever questions you may have about any of this.
Okay, if we don't have any questions about Zoom, that's just something to keep in mind is if you've got a virtual class, to check off your checklist. And then a couple of other basic housekeeping items you might want to keep in mind as you're getting ready for the semester. As we're starting today, and as you're maybe polishing up your course over the next couple of days, to proofread any text content. If you're copying from a master course, in most cases that's already going to be, very thoroughly reviewed and proofread, but it's always a good idea to go back and just look for any kind of glaring errors. Especially important is to check links. Click on any links, make sure there aren't any dead or broken links. Sometimes when you're copying courses from an existing shell, those links get broken, or they if you're linking out to external websites, sometimes those websites go away and the link doesn't work anymore. So it's a good idea to just go through your course and click on all of the links and make sure they're still working. The same with videos. If you're copying, say, Kaltura videos or any other embedded videos from an existing shell into your course, we just want to make sure that they're still working correctly and that they copied over correctly. If you have any hidden items that are currently hidden and you would like them to be visible, just make sure that they are visible to students at the time you would like them to see them. You can tell, again, most of you probably already know this, but you can tell if an item is hidden because it will have a little eye icon with a slash through it, and that means that students cannot see it even if you can. So you just want to make sure that everything that needs to be seen is available to them. If you're using any publisher content or importing any test banks, any PowerPoint presentation packages from publishers, it's a good idea to maybe just look through that, make sure that it's in line with your teaching objectives and that everything looks like it imported correctly and is working correctly for you. It's also a good idea if you have time to review your Ally scores on any of the content in your course shells. Ally is a very useful tool. I'll just very quickly show you where to find that. You may have noticed these little red, yellow, and green icons that show up next to any content you have in your shell. This is just an indicator of the accessibility of any content you've uploaded to your shell. If you click on that indicator, it will also give you recommendations for how to improve the accessibility of that content for students with disabilities. So I'd encourage you, if you do have time, to just take a look at any low Ally scores you have that are in the red or in the yellow, and maybe think about making any suggested improvements that Ally recommends. And then finally, I already mentioned this, but if you need to, make sure to re-enable Honor Lock Respondus or turn it in for any assignments. Okay, any questions so far? Great. Oh, I think I have a few in the chat here. Okay, I'm catching up with chat. Okay, thank you, Jamie, for keeping on top of that.
Yeah, I got chat, so.
Great, awesome. So moving on, I also promised that I would share a couple of tips for just teaching in the 10-week summer format, and also looking ahead to teaching in the accelerated 7-week format that I know is on a lot of our minds right now. So these are just a couple of general tips that really are applicable to any online course design, but I think are especially useful to keep in mind when you're teaching in an accelerated time compressed format, such as our 10-week summer term, or eventually in our 7-week terms that are coming soon. So again, just going to go down the list really quickly, and then we will dive into each of these topics in a little bit more depth. So those 5 tips I would recommend when you're teaching in an accelerated format, be it 10 weeks or 7 weeks, is to be, first of all, be present from day 1, to explain pacing and expectations to students up front, to set weekly routines, to introduce large-scale projects early, and finally to provide timely feedback. And again, this is just really good advice for online teaching in general, and it really reflects kind of online teaching best practice in general. But all of these are especially important in a 10-week compressed format where we don't have a lot of time with students, and where pacing and time management are really crucial for keeping students engaged and progressing consistently through the term. So first of all, on that list, I have be present. What I mean by be present is to just be active and engaged in the course from the beginning of the course, especially if you're teaching fully online, because in that case, you're kind of an invisible presence to students. So it's really important that you communicate that you are there, that you're active in the course, that you're aware of what's going on, and that you are interested and engaged in working with your students. There's a direct correlation between instructor presence and student engagement in the course. Students will often imitate the same level of engagement that you give to a course. A couple of ideas for being present, just a couple, and it doesn't take, and these are just kind of some simple strategies that you can kind of implement into your teaching practice to demonstrate your active presence in a course. You can create an introductions discussion board that allows students the opportunity to introduce each other, to get to know you. A question and answer discussion board is also a great format for encouraging students to ask you questions that are maybe general to the entire course, rather than reaching out directly to you. So again, kind of generating more opportunities for engagement with the instructor, for engagement with each other within the course. Creating an instructor bio, just providing a little bit of information about yourself, and even better if you can provide a photo or a video to accompany that, just so students know who you are and are able to put a face to the name. And then I also recommend if you have some routine news items and announcements that you plan to send out, say on a weekly basis, that are just kind of routine reminders or something like that, I would really recommend maybe drafting and scheduling a couple of those routine communications in advance. I really recommend trying to post at least one news item or send out one class email per week, just to communicate that you're active and present in the course. And that you're available to answer any student questions. And then last of all, I will go over setting up intelligent agents. That's a way to also automate some of those routine communications with students, and really to be present even when you're not. So, or even when you're not able to necessarily reach out to every single student and provide individualized feedback to every single student. There are some ways to set that up in advance. Yes, Dr. Doty?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm asking all sorts of old.
No, questions are great. Go for it.
Unfortunately, I've been at Nashville State longer than y'all been alive. So Susan, I forgot the last name. I'll think of it in just a second. In help desk for many years, provided for faculty something that nobody uses, and I'm wondering if it's still there. It's WW2, and what it amounts to is it was a web page by full-time faculty members, at which time I had my own web page through Nashville State. And what I could do is send out ahead of time. The worst thing at Nashville State is our first day students, that is, they cannot get into anything until y'all turn it on for them. But what I would do is ahead of time is I would send out to each student, not through D2L because they can't get in it, individually email sending the syllabus ahead of time. Is any better way to do that nowadays? And that is some way where the first day they have no earthly idea what you're talking about because they hadn't been able to get in to see anything?
Right. I am not sure if there is a way to send out introductory communications to students before the course shell opens. I'm only aware of how you can send out email and to the entire class list within inside of D2L. But since students aren't enrolled until just before the course opens, I know that's not necessarily a possibility. Jamie, are you aware of a way to possibly send a class email, say to the list of enrolled students in Banner or something like that?
There's probably a way that I'm not aware of, because I know some faculty do it. I can look into it and probably write up something like a resource and then make it available.
Banner allows more than one email. Banner has their D2L email, but it also has their preferred email, which is something totally different.
Right.
That's what I go in, but it requires me to look up every single student. And the class has 30 students in it. So we're talking about, oh my gosh, 5 times 30. So
yeah, I'm not a Banner expert, but I mean, I can talk to Kevin or somebody over in records and see if there's an easy way to set that up, like a mass email if you based in
Yes,
Banner.
there is. There is under in Banner. If you click under My Courses, it'll actually give you a list. It'll give you your course roster, and there's a tool under there where you can actually email class, and it'll give you a whole list of your students, and it'll actually email both their preferred and their by NSCC emails. So even though their private email, if they have like a Yahoo account or Gmail account, it's right under my NSCC, view my courses, and then email roster.
Oh, that's great.
So about that, if I may say something, I tried
sure.
that before. I was told that we're not supposed to communicate with them on a non-NSCC email address. So what I do now, yes, it's long and it's a bit tedious, but you do it once a semester. At the beginning of every semester, you go one by one, you copy. If you don't want to do it through just copy their external email. It appears on your class list. That's what I did last night. And then you create a file with all those email addresses. And that's what I use every time I want to send them an email, not through D2L.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Mayan, for explaining that. Because Jamie and I, we don't have access to Banners, so we don't really see what instructors see. So it's great that it sounds like there is a bulk email function where you can send it to everybody who's enrolled in each course. But it sounds like, though, Mayan, what was the reason why you had to go and pick out each individual one?
Because it copies both their preferred email and their NSCC email. And just like Peter said, if they have like a Yahoo or a Gmail address set up there. So where I was told that I'm not supposed to send them an email to their non-NSCC email address.
Okay, well, we can look into that and like verify and then see what we can and can't do. And then we'll have something ready for fall before fall goes out. So we'll add that to our list of summer projects of creating a resource and then sending out to faculty, like an easy way of how to do it and what's permissible, and make sure that we're not stepping or overcrossing or anything like that.
This
yeah.
is huge. This is huge because, once again, the first day of class in a 15-week class is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the 7-week class is something totally different. They need to hit the ground running. No, they can't, because they've never been able to get in there and even see what the syllabus says.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, we want them to have their books ready.
We've never had that ability. Never had that ability.
I'm sure that will change, and we'll make better communication about that. So that we'll work on that this summer and have it ready before fall goes out, and we'll let everyone know.
Yeah, and thank you for letting us know, because we weren't aware of that. So it's always useful to hear kind of what you're experiencing, and definitely with 7-week courses and more accelerated courses in the pipeline, we will want to have means of communicating with students before the semester starts, at least a couple of days in advance, so that they can, like you said, Dr. Doty, really hit the ground running from day one. Okay. Yeah, great question. And thank you all for sharing how that works in Banner. So again, just a couple more examples illustrating some easy ways to communicate your active presence in a course. to really make yourself, make it clear that you're a resource to students, from day one, especially, in these accelerated courses where, you're really wanting to establish a connection with students and establish kind of course expectations very early on. So I recommend posting a day one email or news announcement. I know a lot of you already do that, as we already discussed, but just giving a preview of what the course is going to be about. I've added a really excellent example from one of our online developers in educational psychology. It's just a really great example of giving a short preview of what the course is like, what's going to be covered, gives you a sense of the instructor's expertise in the field. And then it also tells students how to get started. You'll see at the bottom, it says, in order to get started in this course, please click on content on the navigation bar. So providing directional instructions to students as well, so that they are able to immediately access the course, even if they're, they're taking a course through D2L for the first time ever. A Meet Your Instructor page is also highly recommended. We have template pages that we are happy to copy into your course if you would like to have a kind of template biography page like this. We can copy that in. And again, it's just good practice to kind of just share a little bit about yourself and how to contact you as the instructor. Especially in online where, there's often quite a bit of distance between you and the students because you're not actually physically meeting in person. And if you could put a face to your name, that's also really helpful too as well, just so they know who they're communicating with and that there is a person on the other end of the screen. An introductory video is also a great idea. Again, putting a face to the name, but it's also really useful because you might be able to, walk through step by step a couple of things that you would like them to do in the course and actually show them where different items are in the course. Say if you have like a day one assignment, just showing them basic navigational information. And that is very easy to do. I want to emphasize that. It's very easy to record a video in D2L if you have a webcam. And it makes it very easy. You don't even have to go through, Kaltura is great, but you don't even have to go through Kaltura or Zoom or anything like that. You can add an introductory video to a content item, to a news item, to anything in D2L very quickly just by clicking the insert stuff icon, which is highlighted here. And then there is an option that'll pop up called add video note. And you can just very quickly record yourself. It will access your webcam, record it, and post it, all kind of in one step. And it will automatically caption that video as well. I've found testing it out. So that's just a really easy way to quickly add, say, like a welcome to the course video to a news post. Yes, Dr. Doty?
Years ago, I did this. Linda Lyle helped me do it.
Mm-hmm.
My question is simple. Is it still going to continue to appear if I download a previous course?
Yes. That if you are copying an entire course to a new shell, everything will copy over. If you're copying all components, including any news items, any videos,
it is in
anything
news
like
items.
that.
Thank you.
Yes.
So yeah, if you do one of these recordings, try to make it where you're not dating yourself. If it's something that's consistently inside your course, try to write or script it in a way that it can be used multiple times. But also there's this component that you can add audio feedback to assignments as well. So if you didn't know, in your grading scheme, you have the ability to give students audio feedback, similar to how this video note works.
Yeah. Again, that's also very easy to do. It's just kind of a one-click thing. If you're providing feedback on an assignment Dropbox submission or something like that, there's an option. I think it's just record video or record audio, where you can just record your feedback rather than writing it out, if you think that would be more useful or more accessible to a student. So just wanted to emphasize it's very easy to do, and I think it's very effective, especially if you're trying to establish a connection with students while you're teaching fully online, because this gives them the opportunity to see you and to see you speaking and to actually hear your voice in the course. And then I also mentioned in our list a couple of ways that you can automate some routine communications to make sure that you're continually communicating with students even if you're not doing so live at that particular moment. So it is possible to draft and schedule routine news items in advance, and I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that. So if you have some routine things that you know you're going to post in news, for instance, reminders about due dates, reminders about assignments, and if you already kind of know what your schedule is going to be in advance, it is possible to go ahead and write those news items in the news tool and schedule them for a future date. So if you know that you want a news announcement that's going to pop up on July 1st, 2022, you just set the start date for that news item to that date, and it will post on that date. So that can save you some time if on the front end, if you want to go ahead and already schedule some of those more routine news items.
Quick question on that. I understand that some students, and once again, this goes way back, have their D2L set up at not to go to the news item, but wherever they logged out, at which time a lot of times they miss news items.
Oh,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
I
I didn't know that was possible, actually. Did you, Jamie? Is it possible for a student to essentially, like, when they log back into D2L, return to their previous session rather than go straight to the news page? Because my understanding is, as far as I knew, the news page, this is the default for when students access the course. This is what they see.
You can set it in your course where the news is something they see prevalently, but I mean, you can go back to a previous session. It depends on how long they've been logged in or logged out. Like if it's too long, they'll have to re-authenticate, and then they should see the news item again. But you can make it an emphasis in your course for the students to check the news items regularly as well. So put the onus on them to make sure they're and make it obvious where they need to access it, either on a start page or adding it as a button in the course somewhere. Or just
had a email. My average email per course is, are you ready for this? 450 per semester.
oh wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a few. And there are some other ways as well to draw attention to your news items. They post here, but they also should get a notification up here. So when they come into D2L on the home page, if there's a new news announcement, there will be a little orange dot, like how there is over the discussions, indicating that there is a new news item for them in a course to look at. And these are, so for instance, here's one that I have. If students saw this, they would be able to click on this and go directly to that news announcement to see it in more detail. Another thing that you can have students do is download the Brightspace Pulse app on their mobile device. That will also send them push notifications of any news items that you post to the course or any upcoming calendar events. It's also a good way to make sure that they're keeping up with news items regardless. Yeah, were you going to say something, Peter?
Yeah, I was going to ask, can you guys re-enable the feature for the email so that students can actually forward their D2L email to their MyNSCC email? As instructors, we're allowed to, but it's disabled for students for some reason.
Oh, okay.
I have to check into why it's disabled. I'll have to look into that. I think there was a reason a long time ago, and I don't remember what the reason was.
Because we still have it as an instruction in our intro class, our intro to electrical engineering class. One of the first things that we go over is how to forward their email. And it turns out that if they're a brand new student, they can't. But if they're an old student with an old A number, like I've got one student that was enrolled in the old audio engineering program from 2002, he can still forward his email. But any new students, that's grayed out.
Okay.
For some reason.
Yeah,
That's
look into
interesting.
this.
There's legal reason for all that way back, which was we pretty much can assume legally that anybody in D2L, because they log into D2L, is that student. But there's no guarantee that it's a Yahoo, if we're pointing to Yahoo, that the Yahoo student, or it's actually one of our students. It could be anybody.
Right, and I think that probably is also
It could have been a change in
concern.
FERPA rules or something like that. So I'll look into it and see. I'll have to ask. I'll ask around and see and figure out
Yeah,
why that's the case.
that's good to know. Yeah, I made a note of that as well. So thanks for bringing that to our attention, Peter. But we'll have to look into that a little bit more.
I just thought
Because
it was
I
weird
wasn't
that,
aware of that.
yeah, I thought it was weird that older students could access it, but the new students couldn't. So
Yeah, yeah. But we'll try to find out a little bit more information about that and see if it is possible, or what the reason is behind that. Okay. So just moving on to, again, ways of automating communications and maintaining constant contact with students. Intelligent agents. I love intelligent agents. I think that they're an often underutilized tool in D2L, but they can be so useful. Intelligent agents, if you don't know what they are, essentially create an automated message that will go to certain populations of students in your course when certain conditions are met. So let me explain what that means. So for instance, you could create an intelligent agent which will identify students who have not turned in an assignment by a particular due date, and then it will send them a custom message reminding them, say, of that due date. So for instance, that's exactly the example I have set up here, and these screenshots I've shared. I have an agent that's set up to address missing final paper draft. It will identify any users or any students who have not submitted to that particular assignment Dropbox by a certain day. And then it will send them an automated message that I already wrote in advance. I usually try to write this in very generic terms, since it might be going to multiple students, but it'll essentially send out a bulk email to any group of students who didn't submit an assignment saying, hey, I just noticed that you haven't submitted the final paper draft. It was due on this date. Just a reminder, it's worth 20% of your grade, and contact me if you have any questions. So this is a really great way. You can set up as many of these as you want. You can set them up for any number of your assignments. You could set them up to notify students if they haven't even logged into D2L for a while, and just say, hey, I noticed you haven't logged into D2L in a while, and just a reminder, this is an accelerated 10-week course. And it's really important that you consistently log in and keep up with coursework in order to succeed, something like that. So those are highly recommended. I think they're wonderful, and very useful.
And this is something you can play with too. It's not going to break anything. So feel free to kind of investigate.
Yeah.
And if you want some more resources, we can just email us and we can send you some links to some helpful resources.
Yeah, we have some resources on intelligent agents on our website, our online learning website, if you would like to look at those or do a deep dive with these. I will just call attention to where they are, if you are interested in playing with these a little bit more. They are in the edit course area, and they are under communication. So if you'd like to explore those, feel free. And I also encourage you to look at the resources that are available on our website, especially as we're moving into accelerated terms, where it's really important to kind of keep up with student progress. This is a really great way to kind of automate, sending out those kind of gentle reminder emails or routine communications, so that you're not, as you were saying, Dr. Doty, sending 450 emails a semester. Because we know it's, with 5 courses, it's really hard to send individual emails or individual reminders to every single student all of the time. And this is one way to get around that obstacle. Any questions about intelligent agents before I move on? Okay, well, just let me know, or let us know if you have any questions about that. Our second point in terms of thinking about teaching in accelerated terms is just explaining your pacing expectations and the nature of the 10-week course or your accelerated course up front for students. Jamie mentioned this, just make that really explicit for students in, say, your syllabus language or in a news item, just explaining something to the effect of, this is an accelerated 10-week course. If you're used to taking a regular 15-week semester course, this is going to be much faster paced. And here's some ways that you can practice good time management skills and succeed even in an accelerated course. Make sure you're logging into the course regularly, for example. Set aside time each week to work on the course. For a 3-credit-hour course that's in an accelerated format, that's going to be about 10 to 12 hours per week is going to be the time expectation for an online course. So give time expectations, explain how much time students need to be devoting to assignments each week, how they need to be approaching larger long-term projects, which I'll talk about in just a moment, and just open up means of communication if they do get behind. Another, great resource to provide to students is to just have a course schedule that has your weekly deadlines in advance, so that students know what they need to complete over the course of the term, so that they're able to plan out that next 10 weeks or that next 7 weeks. Set up your due dates in the calendar. Again, those will go to notifications in D2L. If they have Brightspace Pulse, that will also go to push notifications on their phone, which can be really useful for making sure that they are keeping up with any pressing deadlines throughout the term. Next, I would recommend that you set weekly routines, both for yourself and for your students, especially in those accelerated courses where it's important to make sure that you and your students are making kind of consistent progress towards the course each week. I'd encourage you to include a communication plan in your syllabus if you haven't already. Just communicating to students how they can reach you, when they can expect a response, and how often you plan to provide grades and feedback, what kind of time frame they can expect. It's also good, I think, to just have a routine for yourself as well, in terms of when you're going to reply to student emails, when you're going to make time to devote to grading and feedback, and just try to be consistent sticking to that, especially in the shorter terms where it's really important that you stay in contact with students, because oftentimes their communications might be related to something that's coming up really quickly, or that it might be coming up in the next few days. Introduce major projects early. Highly recommended for those 10-week courses or 7-week courses if it is possible. If you have a large term project that you know is coming up at the end, try, if it's possible, to provide instructions, rubrics, any supporting materials in advance to students so that they know what they need to be working towards. It's not possible in all courses, but if you have a larger project that can be broken into smaller component parts, maybe break that up a little bit so that students are turning in multiple parts as a kind of formative assessment and getting feedback along the way as they're building towards the final product they're working towards. And that's just a great way to monitor for consistent student progress, having weekly deadlines that students can kind of consistently work towards. And then finally, providing timely feedback. Very important in an accelerated course, because providing timely feedback is always important. Research suggests that the more quickly that you can provide feedback, the more useful it is to the student. The more time that goes on between when they completed the assessment and when they get the feedback, the less it's of less benefit to them. So the quicker, the better, always. But especially in an accelerated course where students may need feedback more quickly in order to implement it into any upcoming assignments, since the time between those are somewhat shortened. And one way to really accelerate the rate at which you're able to give feedback back to students is, I would recommend using rubrics inside of D2L. If you find you're writing the same feedback over and over and over again on student papers or projects, rubrics are a really great way to it require a little bit of work on the front end, but setting up a rubric that provides consistent kind of performance descriptions at each level of performance is a really easy way to very quickly provide feedback to students, and also accelerate kind of your process for grading. We have a screenshot here from D2L showing how easy that can be. If you set up a rubric attached to an assignment Dropbox, you very quickly just check off where students are scoring in each particular category, which can really accelerate the grading and feedback process. Okay, any questions about anything I just went over? I know we're just a minute over time, but I want to make room for any questions over anything I just said or anything that didn't make any sense. I will point out as well, if you do have any questions or concerns, or if you're thinking about converting to the 7-week format, if you're working on a course redesign, we do have an accelerated terms training course available. It's less of a formal course and more of a self-paced reference guide with some really valuable tips and tricks for converting to the 7-week format. If you're interested in that, just send us an email at Online Learning, and we would be happy to enroll you in that. Yes, Dr. Doty?
Well, I got one real personal question, I guess. My textbooks are Cengage as opposed to everybody else's, at which time I have to, and this is real technical, so I'm going to hush a minute, let anybody else ask questions, but I do have a question about how I get Cengage into my everything.
Sure. Yeah, we could circle back to you, and we can work one-on-one with you and address that.
It's just a quick question. I just want to make sure they can get in there still.
Sure. Yeah, after this session, we'll get into your course and just make sure that that's set up correctly for you. Did anybody else have any questions as we are wrapping up?